Yo friends, quick video here today talking about elderberry cuttings, what to do with them, where to plant them, how to take care of them. I sell these on my website, but you can also take these for free from elderberries around town. If you purchase an elderberry cutting from me, it'll be about 1 to 2 feet long and thicker than a pencil. It'll have 2 of these nodes on it, usually one here at the bottom and one at the top. These nodes are where the plant stores a lot of energy for its growing. And so these nodes will be the only places where the plant will send up new shoots and new leaves in the spring. And they're also a great place for the plant to send out roots as well. Elderberries are especially good at rooting, and all of these like white dots around here around the plant will also turn into roots, or has the possibility of turning into roots. I ship or drop off my elderberry in these bags with the bottoms of the cuttings wrapped around this newspaper that's kind of dampened to keep the cuttings kind of damp. You want to keep them moist until you plant them in the ground. It's important to maintain the correct direction for the cuttings. You don't want to plant them upside down. So if you bought them from me and dropped it and turned it around, or you took it yourself and you're not sure which way is up, it's still easy to tell by looking at the nodes. The nodes here are, the branches, the tiny little branches are growing upwards. That's how you can kind of tell this is the cutting facing up, and that's what it would look like upside down. I'm at my parents' property here in Quakertown, where I've planted some pawpaw trees before, and these are some blueberry bushes they have. And here I am extending their property line by planting elderberry cuttings right here. Elderberries are a really versatile plant. They really can handle and enjoy wet conditions or moderately wet conditions. I probably wouldn't want to place them in really dry conditions. They handle a lot of sun, full sun. They'll get big and really productive, but they also handle shade pretty well. They won't be as productive in shade, but they'll still grow, they'll still be happy, and they'll still produce in like moderate shade. Another really cool thing about elderberries is that they'll handle being this close to a black walnut tree. A lot of other plants you don't really want to plant around the edges of a black walnut tree because the black walnuts release this chemical called jugalone, which can suppress the growth or kill the growth of other plants. It really benefits the black walnut tree. Elderberries, they don't care about jugalone. They'll deal with it all day long, so they're a great thing to plant around black walnuts. I do root some of these cuttings on my own and root them inside. You totally can too. Shoving smaller cuttings in pots of potting soil, a great way to get them to grow into be plants before you transplant them outside like you would with tomatoes. But you can also just take these cuttings and shove them directly in the ground. I found a spot here that's going to get plenty of sun. These cuttings are going to grow to be about maybe 12, 15 feet tall, with like a 6-foot spread. So I planted them about 6 to 8 feet apart. You can see one here. All I did was I took the cutting, and the ground is pretty soft right now, so I was able to just shove it directly into the soil. You could also even take like a hammer or a sledgehammer and kind of loosely pound it in, but the ground was soft enough for me to shove in. I shoved the cutting about halfway in the soil. I want about half of the cutting to really develop roots and the other half to develop leaves. It keeps it even like that. If you only have a little bit of roots and a lot of leaves, the plant really won't be able to support itself well. I also made sure to have one of those nodes underground and one of those nodes above ground. I find that helps best with planting. And then honestly, I'm just gonna leave these cuttings here. My mom said she might come around and mulch with some straw or some wood chips, but this ground stays moist enough that I think they'll be just fine and totally happy here. I found that they tend to be not deer repellent, but deer will go after other things before they go after elderberries. I'll tell my parents to keep an eye on these. They may want to put a small like chicken wire cage around each one until they get a little taller above deer browse height. You also want to pay attention to keeping them watered in their first year. They'll probably be fine, but like during longer periods of drought, if you haven't had rain for a week or two, then you might want to go through and water the base of the cuttings. After the first year, they really should be just fine. They're very hardy. In my experience, these cuttings really won't grow much taller in their first year. They're really focused underground on root development. So maybe it'll put a few inches of growth on its first year. And then its second year, it might be like 5 or 6 feet tall. It probably will make some clusters of berries in its second year, probably not its first, but then by year 3, it'll be quite productive, and by year 4 and 5, it should be full-sized and very productive. Additionally, these are cuttings I took of a named variety tree, so it's especially productive. It produces very large clusters of berries and very many of those large clusters of berries. I planted these here so my parents will have plenty of elderberries to work with to make elderberry syrup, and I think just 2 or 3 of these cuttings would be enough for a family of 4 to grow into plants. I sell them in bunches of 3, expecting that maybe 1 will die off in its first year. It just won't root correctly. Probably most of them will, but I try to give away, at least 3 just in case 1 doesn't make it. Wild elderberries are just fine too. They're quite productive. You might want to plant maybe like 4 for a family of 4, whereas like 1 or 2 of the named varieties would be plenty enough. Like I said, I planted these about 6 to 8 feet apart. You totally could plant them closer, more like 2 or 4 feet apart if you wanted like a thick hedge growing here. As elderberry grows, they're really easy to take care of. I go through once after the leaves have all fallen off in winter and take a big pair of clippers and prune off any dead or really old dying pieces of wood. They're a multi-stemmed shrub, so they'll continue to send up new and healthy and vigorous shoots, and you want to keep those and cut off the dead ones or the ones that are a couple years old. The plant, if you prune it like this, the plant should live a long time and be very productive for a very long time. Happy planting, friends!